Hello everybody, welcome back. The Music Fan is bringing smiles to the faces, knowledge to the people, and most importantly, music to the masses. And I am back with another very interesting Are You In? Enough jibber jabber, let's start the timer and get going. Today, I am looking at the newest album by Daughters, entitled You Won't Get What You Want. Now, for those of you who don't know who Daughters is, they are a noise rock band from Providence, Rhode Island. The members include Alexis S.F. Marshall on vocals, Nicholas Andrew Sadler on guitar, John Syverson on drums, and Samuel Walker on bass. The previous albums include Canada Songs in 2003, Hell Songs in 2006, and Daughters in 2010. Now, I personally had never heard of this band before. This is another one introduced to me by The Needle Drop. Now, spoilers, this particular person gave this a 10 out of 10 on his channel. So I was very interested in what he was talking about, just the idea of this album, and wanted to check it out. So I did, and holy fucking shit. This is a very interesting album. It's probably the most interesting album that I have listened to all year. Noise rock is definitely the word I can describe it, but even if you listen to noise rock, you would not be ready for this type of album. From the get-go, it's off, it's eerie, it's jarring. From City Song, where you get this more kind of industrial rock kind of sound that is just droning and feels so unsettling throughout the whole entire song, but never builds that crescendo that you want. And then eventually it just stops. And it's just the lyrics at the end. It's a way of getting you ready for this album. And it's, from then on, just completely bonkers. Long Road, No Turns is this very chaotic yet somewhat fun kind of song. It feels like a carnival or a fair, and just the way that it presents itself in the almost whimsical nature of this depraved song. The guitar work on there is so jarring, it's so dissonant, it's so out there. It's like something that you would hear in a slasher movie, and it's just, oh my god, almost like over the top, and just the nature of it. And even the use of the lyrics are almost childish in nature. Everybody climbs up just to fall real far. A little is all it takes. A little is all it takes. And just the nature of a da 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 da. It's just like that nature of the lyrics. It's almost if this person's going insane or is just finding fun in a very depraved moment. Then you get the Satan in the Weight. Again, very jarring, even though there is some beautiful nature in some of the guitar work and the synth work in there. It gives actually somewhat of a melody in this song comparatively to the other two songs so far. To me, I think it overstays a little bit too long after that first hit of just what the fuck is going on. After that, it kind of just wears off a little bit. But again, another song that is just friggin' jarring. Throughout the album, it feels like that. Whether it's those longer songs or the more fast-paced ones, like the next two songs. The Flammable Man is just crazy in the sound, where he's just singing, I don't lie, I don't lie, I don't lie, I don't live, and just over and over again, he's just pounding those words while the drums are just pounding in your ears, and the bass part is interesting. It's a 2-minute song, but it feels like it never overstays its welcome at all. It feels like it was the perfect approach to that song. It's just so crazy. And then the Lord song is a little bit more sedated than that first song, but the drum work is still frenetic, and the synths are very disturbing. Less Sex is a song that for a minute gives you a little bit of a reprieve and a little bit of time to breathe. It feels kind of like early 9 Inch Nails for like the Pretty Hate Machine, but a little less cheesy in sound. Even Marshall's vocals are very baritone, like you would hear on some of these early 9 Inch Nails songs, kind of like Closer. And it's at least gives you a moment to breathe. It's kind of droning at times in terms of the lyrics, but I think that's the point. It's keeping you engaged without having to just smash it into your head. Then you get Daughter, which is a very interesting one as well. It's not as fast paced as some of these other ones. It even has some like very bossa nova drum work, but the synth lines are so creepy, and there's some screaming in the background that just makes everything on edge. The reason they hate me, I will say, is probably the most straightforward of all of these songs. And what I mean by that, it feels like the most rock song on there. With the drums, it feels just very straightforward, like a song that you would hear from a lot of rock bands, but just there's that tinge that they give it to make it so weird and so eerie. It doesn't work as well as some of these other songs, but it still gives you the desired effect. I'll say also the lyrics on this one are probably the most lackluster out of all of them, but again, the feel of this whole entire album makes up for some of the shortcomings of this song. The best song on this album, though, by far, is Ocean Song. It's a 7-minute song that keeps building and building with very tense and pulsating guitar chords, and the drums have so much energy. The lyrics themselves are so filled with imagery of this man who is living a normal life and then suddenly has this urge, this dread to throw it all away and run into the ocean to potentially drown himself. And just like the words, the imagery on this song is so key, where it feels like everything is attacking him and every sense and nuance of his world is coming apart. It's an incredibly descriptive song, and the music matches that so well. There's even a point where the music dies down for a minute and you feel, okay, we're going to be fine. And then it comes back on, kind of like a panic attack, where you think you are fine for a minute and then it comes back in. And then to close it off, they just keep building. Guest House is another one of these ones where, again, it doesn't let up, it doesn't end. It's, again, just so in your face. The drums are pounding and there's just so much there. There's so much sensory overload. This song about someone trying to get into somewhere, whether literally if it's somebody who is either pounding at the door and trying to get into the cellar of some place so that he can be safe from something outside, or if it's a more metaphorical approach of trying to get into your safe place to get away from anxiety and depression, but can't get there. And there are parts of this where he's literally screaming, "Let me in, let me in." After all that, though, for the first time, you get some beautiful horn and string parts at the end of this song. It's a ride. It's an incredible ride. It's a incredibly disturbing ride. I can't say that I enjoyed it. I don't think that's the right word to use, but I lived it, I felt it. Even the lyrics themselves give so much to the credence of these depraved songs. Whether it's Guest House, whether it's Ocean Song, whether it's Daughter, which seems to be about an old person waiting for the embrace of death, or Less Sex, with someone dealing with a sex addiction or whatever you will, but still letting it in and letting it and fester and foster ideas. Or if it's the Lord's Song, which I think has this idea of someone waiting for the end of their life or the end of what they created and fearing that. Or Flammable Man, which is this song about someone who can't sleep because literally their anxieties and fears pop into their head like a flame just flickering on and off all the time. Satan in Wait, talking about the spread of evil and depravity from one influential person to another, and thereby creating a fucked up world. Or the end result of that, City Song, which is talking about the aftermath of a city collapsing due to catastrophic events, whether it's the catastrophic events of man or the catastrophic events of nature, but just the ideas of how nature is now having its effects on this once populated place. And Long Road, No Turns feels like this person coming undone and contemplating suicide and talking about how no matter who one person is, how strong one person is, all it takes is just a little bit to break somebody. There's so much depravity. There's so much crazy nature. This is an album that you feel. It's an album that you don't just listen to you actually feel it. It's not going to be for everybody. If you don't like anything of what I've been saying, I totally understand. I'm not someone from much of a noise rock myself, but it's like watching a train wreck. You know that it's bad for you, but you just can't look away. Same thing with this. It's just, you know it's potentially dangerous. You know that it's, not the most interesting music or the most tonal music to listen to, but there's just something about it that just grips you. If any of what I said is interesting enough for you to be like, hey, I want to check it out, definitely do so. I know it's not going to be for everybody. Again, I don't necessarily think this is a 10 out of 10. I think it's a very interesting album, and I will definitely have a spot for this on my 50. But I don't think this is a perfect album. I think there are some parts where the ideas that they are using go on a little bit too long or don't get developed enough. Satan and the Wait is that prime example of just feeling like it stays a little bit too long. It's kind of like the idea of a jump scare, if you will. You can get scared like the first time, but if you keep throwing that same idea out over and over again, it kind of wears off a little bit. So kind of like with that idea, Satan and the Wait was jarring at the first point, but because it stays so long, it kind of becomes normal and therefore a little bit uninteresting. Same thing with like the Lord song comparable to the Flammable Man. The Flammable Man is so in your face that it just feels so visceral. But the Lord song feels a little bit tame comparatively to the Flammable Man. And also the reason they hit me. I think that because you hear so many crazy and depraved songs throughout the whole entire album, the reason they hate me feels actually kind of fun and feels a little bit just not uninteresting but unoriginal comparatively to everything else because it borrows from so many other rock ideas. But hey, if any of what I said made you want to listen to this album, definitely do so. If you just want the most interesting album that you're going to listen to all year, take a listen. So that is my time. I hope you enjoyed some very interesting albums this Christmas season. I don't really listen to Christmas music at all right now. I rather listen to interesting ideas, and I hope I gave you guys a couple of ideas. But first off, if you like this album, I guess, give this video a like. Let me know some of the other interesting albums from 2018 that you would like me to check out, as well as other albums in general that I can take a look at. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you like interesting album reviews like this, take the time to click the button so that you know that you will see more of what I will be doing. Share this with your friends and just keep watching my videos. So next week I will have 3 other album reviews, actually 2 Are You Ins and 1 Digging Through Discography, as we end 2018 with a couple actually instrumental albums. But until then, this is The Music Fan, and I am signing off.